Forget the hum of machinery, the endless aisles of prefabricated parts. We're stepping back, far back, into the rugged, self-sufficient existence of an 1800s mountain man. Our destination: a humble, hand-hewn cabin nestled deep within the whispering wilderness, where necessity truly was the mother of invention and the art of crafting furniture was a cornerstone of survival. Imagine for a moment a life lived entirely off the land. No supply chains, no hardware stores, just the forest, the river, and the enduring spirit of a frontiersman. Every chair, every table, every storage chest wasn't bought. It was born from sweat, skill, and an intimate understanding of the raw materials around them. This isn't just about building a piece of furniture. It's about understanding the very fabric of frontier life, the ingenuity required to carve comfort and utility out of the wild. So pull up a mental stool, stoke the metaphorical fire, and let's delve into the remarkable world of furniture crafting, mountain man style. The cabin, a sanctuary, and a workshop. Our mountain man's cabin is far more than just four walls and a roof. It's a multi-purpose hub of existence, a shelter from the unforgiving elements, a place of rest, a hearth for cooking, and most importantly for our purpose today, a dynamic, living workshop. In the 1800s, specialized buildings were a luxury for most. A mountain man's entire world revolved around this singular space, a testament to his self-reliance. Here, the air carries the rich, earthy scent of pine resin and freshly shaved wood, mingling with the faint aroma of wood smoke and curing hides. It's an intoxicating blend that speaks of both hard work and basic comfort. Light, precious and vital, filters through small, animal hide or greased paper window panes, casting dancing shadows on the rough-hewn log walls. These aren't transparent panes. They diffuse the light, creating a soft, warm glow that illuminates the workspace without being harsh. Every surface serves a purpose. The sturdy wooden floor, smoothed by countless footsteps, doubles as a reliable work platform, able to withstand the heavy impact of an axe or the pressure of a draw knife. Benches, built from thick, split logs, offer seating, but also serve as improvised sawhorses, clamping stations, or even temporary storage for tools and materials. This isn't a sterile environment. It's a place of constant activity, where the tools are always within reach, often hanging from pegs on the walls, or tucked neatly into simple wooden chests. Projects are always in various states of completion, from freshly debarked logs waiting their turn to partially assembled furniture frames. The very structure of the cabin, with its interlocking log construction, mirrors the principles of strength and stability that the mountain man applied to his furniture, creating a cohesive and sturdy environment. It was a place of constant ingenuity, adapting to whatever material the wilderness offered, turning necessity into inventive solutions for both dwelling and creation. The untamed forest, sourcing raw materials before a single tool could even touch a piece of wood for furniture. The wood itself had to be sourced. And for the 1800s mountain man, sourcing meant venturing deep into the untamed primeval forest that surrounded his isolated cabin. This wasn't a quick trip to a lumberyard. It was an expedition requiring intimate knowledge of the land and considerable physical prowess. The choice of tree was absolutely critical, often determined by what was readily available, its specific properties, and its suitability for the intended purpose of the furniture. For general cabin construction, or simpler, less stressed furniture pieces, pine was often a go-to due to its widespread abundance and its relatively easier workability. However, for more durable pieces, say sturdy stool legs that would bear significant weight, or a robust tabletop that needed to withstand daily use. The mountain man would meticulously seek out harder, more resilient species like oak, maple, or hickory, prized for their inherent strength, density, and resistance to wear. The very first step in this demanding process was felling the tree. This was an arduous, back-breaking task, typically performed with the mountain man's trusty felling axe. This heavy, sharp tool was designed for powerful directional cuts, allowing him to strategically bring down even large trees. For truly massive timber, a two-man crosscut saw would be employed, its rhythmic, groaning back-and-forth motion echoing through the quiet forest, a testament to the sheer physical effort involved. Once the tree was successfully felled, the heavy work of limbing began, systematically removing all the branches to leave a clean, straight trunk. Then came the vital step of bucking or cutting the main trunk into manageable lengths that could actually be transported back to the cabin. These lengths would be determined by the size of the furniture pieces planned, or by the maximum length that could be moved through dense underbrush. Transporting these heavy, unwieldy logs back to the cabin was a monumental undertaking in itself. It often involved sheer brute strength, leveraging the logs with pry bars or constructing improvised sledges to drag them across the terrain. Sometimes, if topography allowed, logs might be carefully rolled down inclines or floated down streams, though this wasn't always an option in remote mountain settings. Once the logs finally reached the cabin clearing, they would often undergo initial processing. This commonly included debarking them using an adze or a draw knife. Removing the bark wasn't just for aesthetics. It helped to prevent insect infestations and allowed the wood to begin drying more evenly, a crucial step before it could be worked into furniture. This initial stage, from the selection and felling in the forest to the arduous transport back to the cabin, was a profound testament to the mountain man's incredible physical endurance, his intimate knowledge of the wilderness, and his deep respect for the raw power of nature. Every plank, every beam, every log that would eventually become a piece of furniture was a hard-won gift from the wild, imbued with the story of its journey from forest giant to domestic necessity. The artisan's arsenal, tools of survival and creation. Modern woodworkers marvel at the precision and power of their electric tools. But in the 1800s, the mountain man's arsenal was an elegant symphony of simplicity and effectiveness. These were not just tools, they were extensions of their hands, honed by countless hours of use and meticulous care. The undisputed king of frontier tools was the axe. From felling massive trees to rough-shaping timbers and even finer carving, the axe was incredibly versatile. Different weights and grinds served different purposes, but its fundamental role was paramount. While the axe was king, saws were essential for cleaner, more precise cuts. The two-man crosscut saw tackled large logs. For smaller pieces and joinery, a bow saw or a simpler frama saw would be used. Their teeth were sharpened and set by hand, a skill in itself. For shaping and smoothing, adzes and draw knives were crucial. An adze, with its blade perpendicular to the handle, was used for roughing out concave shapes and flattening large surfaces, leaving a distinctive scalloped pattern. A draw knife, a long blade with handles at either end, was pulled towards the body to quickly remove bark and shave down wood, leaving a smooth, often curved finish. For intricate joinery, mortises, tenons, and decorative carving, a set of chisels and gouges were indispensable. These were often struck with a wooden mallet to drive them through the wood with precision. For drilling holes, whether for pegs, dowels, or pilot holes, the mountain man relied on hand augers, which were essentially large, hand-cranked drill bits, or a simple brace and bit. A variety of hammers, from heavy sledgehammers for driving wedges to smaller claw hammers for nailing, though nails were scarce and reused, were also present. When it came to measuring and marking, tools were simple and often improvised, including folding rules if available, strings for straight lines, and dividers or calipers crafted from wood or horn for measuring dimensions. The true measurement often came from eyeballing and years of practiced skill. Every tool was not just used but maintained meticulously. Sharpening stones were vital, ensuring edges remained keen for efficient and safe work, as the mountain man understood that a dull tool was a dangerous and inefficient tool. The art of shaping, from log to component. With the raw logs finally back in the comparative shelter of the cabin, the true transformative work began. This stage of furniture creation was where the mountain man's deep understanding of wood, combined with immense patience and a keenly developed eye, truly shone. It was the crucial transition from a rough, natural timber to the precisely crafted components that would form a functional piece of furniture. This wasn't merely about cutting, it was about reading the wood, understanding its grain, anticipating its tendencies, and coaxing it into the desired form. The very first step often involved splitting the logs into more manageable sections, a technique that was as much art as it was brute force. Rather than laboriously sawing through the entire diameter of a large log, which was incredibly time-consuming and energy-intensive, the mountain man would strategically place wooden wedges along the end grain and drive them in with a heavy mallet or the back of an axe. This method allowed the wood to naturally cleave along its grain, yielding strong, stable, and often remarkably straight sections. These split pieces, though still rough, were far easier to handle and offered a foundational shape for further refinement. From these robust, split pieces, the more intricate shaping commenced, often starting with hewing. For larger structural components like sturdy table legs, thick bench seats, or supportive beams, hewing was the primary method. Using an axe or sometimes a broad axe, the craftsman would systematically chop and shape the wood. This involved a rhythmic series of precise blows, gradually removing material to bring the timber closer to its final dimensions. The goal wasn't necessarily a perfectly smooth surface, but rather a strong, functional form with distinct, visible facets left by the axe. The mountain man learned to read the wood, understanding how the grain would respond to each strike, ensuring he removed material efficiently without weakening the piece. Once the rough shape was achieved, particularly for surfaces that needed to be smoother, like a tabletop, the seat of a chair, or a flat shelf, the craftsman would move to finer tools. This often involved the draw knife or, if available and carefully maintained, a simple hand plane. The draw knife, pulled towards the body, allowed for rapid removal of thin shavings, quickly smoothing and contouring the wood, leaving a clean, almost sculpted surface. Hand planes of the era were typically wooden-bodied, holding a precisely sharpened iron blade. Using these, the mountain man could achieve a much flatter and more uniform surface, essential for joinery and for comfortable use. The objective was to create a reasonably flat and splinter-free surface, practical and pleasing to the touch, rather than the perfectly smooth, factory-grade finish we might expect today. Before any cuts for complex joints could be made, meticulous layout and marking were absolutely essential. This wasn't guesswork. The mountain man would use a scratch-awl to incise precise lines onto the wood surface, defining the boundaries of his cuts. A marking gauge, often a simple wooden block with an adjustable pin, would be used to scribe parallel lines, ensuring consistent dimensions for tenons or grooves. for ensuring accurate angles, particularly right angles, simple squares, often improvised from two pieces of wood joined at 90 degrees, were indispensable. Every measurement, every mark, was made with careful deliberation, as mistakes meant wasted effort and precious material. The entire process of shaping was iterative. Rough shaping, followed by finer shaping, with constant checking of dimensions and fit. It was a dynamic dance between the wood's natural characteristics and the craftsman's will, transforming raw timber into the very bones of a sturdy, hand-built piece of furniture. Joinery, the backbone of durability. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of 1800s furniture making was the mastery of joinery without modern fasteners. Nails were scarce, expensive, and often unreliable for load-bearing joints, and adhesives were primitive and unreliable for structural purposes. The strength and longevity of a mountain man's furniture came entirely from the way the wood pieces interlocked. The workhorse of frontier joinery was the mortise and tenon joint. A tenon, a protruding tongue, was cut on the end of one piece of wood, precisely sized to fit into a mortise, a rectangular hole, cut into another piece. Once fitted, these joints could be further secured with wooden pegs driven through both the tenon and the mortise, creating an incredibly strong, interlocking connection. This was common for attaching legs to tabletops or rails to posts. For drawers, boxes, and other constructions where strength and aesthetic appeal were desired, dovetail joints were a marvel of precision. These interlocking, fan-shaped tails and pins created a joint that resisted pulling apart, relying on friction and the mechanical interlocking of the wood fibers, and they required significant skill and patience to cut accurately by hand. Simpler than mortise and tenons were lap joints, which involved cutting away half the thickness of two pieces of wood where they overlapped, creating a flush joint that could be secured with pegs or, if available, salvaged iron nails. Even simpler connections were often secured with wooden pegs driven through pre-drilled holes. These pegs, often made from harder woods, would expand slightly with moisture, creating a very tight fit. Sometimes, a groove would be cut into the edges of two pieces of wood, and a thin, separate piece of wood, a spline, would be inserted to connect them, adding strength. The beauty of these joints lay in their inherent mechanical strength. They were designed to last, to withstand the stresses of daily life, and to be repairable if needed, truly embodying the principle of built to endure. Assembly and finishing. The final touches. With all the individual components crafted and the joints meticulously cut, the final stage was assembly. This was a moment of truth, where all the careful planning and painstaking work came together. Joints were typically fitted dry first, then often glued with basic, homemade hide glues if available, and then pegged for ultimate strength. The assembly process was often a solitary, meditative act, ensuring every piece aligned perfectly. Once assembled, the furniture would receive its finishing touches. This wasn't about modern lacquers or polyurethane. It was about protecting the wood and enhancing its natural beauty with simple, effective methods. Rough surfaces were smoothed using whatever abrasives were available. Sand, often collected from riverbeds, coarse animal hides, or even specialized rough stones. The goal was to remove splinters and create a comfortable, usable surface. The finish wouldn't be glass smooth, but it would be practical and pleasing to the touch. The most common finish was a simple oil treatment. Linseed oil, extracted from flax seeds, was a popular choice. It would be rubbed generously into the wood, penetrating the fibers, hardening over time, and providing a natural protective barrier against moisture. This also deepened the wood's color and brought out its unique grain patterns. Sometimes, beeswax or other animal fats would be rubbed into the wood for an added layer of protection and a subtle sheen. The finished piece wasn't just a utilitarian object, it was a reflection of the mountain man's character and skill. It was strong, functional, honest, and often surprisingly beautiful in its simplicity. Each knot, each axe mark, each grain pattern told a part of its unique story. The legacy of handcrafted resilience. As we conclude our journey through the mountain man's cabin and his world of handcrafted furniture, we are left with more than just an understanding of historical techniques. We gain a profound appreciation for a way of life that demanded resilience, ingenuity, and an intimate connection to the natural world. The furniture crafted in these remote cabins wasn't just built for a season or two, it was built to last generations. It was part of the very fabric of survival, providing comfort, utility, and a sense of permanence in an otherwise fleeting existence. Each joint, every smoothed surface, each peg driven home, speaks of the mountain man's unwavering spirit and his ability to transform raw wilderness into a livable, functional home. In our fast-paced, disposable world, there's a powerful lesson to be learned from these forgotten craftsmen. They teach us the value of patience, of thoughtful creation, and of respecting the materials that surround us. They remind us that true durability often comes not from complex machinery, but from skilled hands, keen eyes, and a deep understanding of the craft. So, the next time you sit in a comfortable chair or gather around a sturdy table, take a moment to consider the hands that might have built it, the forests it might have come from, and the enduring legacy of those who truly built their lives and their comforts by hand. We hope you've enjoyed this immersive journey into the world of 1800s mountain man furniture crafting. What aspect of this self-sufficient life fascinates you the most? Do you think you could build a chair with only an axe and a saw? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this exploration inspiring, please consider giving this video a strong thumbs up, sharing it with someone who appreciates craftsmanship, and subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into history, survival, and forgotten arts. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss an adventure. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and remember the power of building by hand.